Well, the snow came in on Saturday night and Sunday morning, and Sunday morning when I woke up it was snowing horizontally in the wind, but it didn't land on the ground too much. At least it didn't stick, so I think we got away with it this time. But everything is frozen today, so a bit of fresh water for the chickens, a bit of chopped vegetable for the chickens, and latest compost material. So that's what I'm doing, and then I've got a few veg to grab. I'll show you the ice. So it's the first time this year that the pond has been frozen over. I don't know how thick that is, probably not very thick. Oh, surprising. Well, that's been like that all day. In fact, it was probably worse first thing this morning, but just goes to show you the temperature's not really getting above freezing. Come on, girls. Keeping chickens can seem, well, quite a romantic pastime. But believe me, in the freezing cold weather, there's quite a lot of husbandry to be done. And 2 or 3 times a day, if possible. Right, I know what you're waiting for. Well, thanks to everybody for their concern about the plot during Storm Arwen, but we fared pretty well. No real damage, a few things blown over, but it's a lot worse around the country, I know, so my heart goes out to all those people who have had damage to their sheds and their greenhouses. I know how frustrating that can be. Well, it's a pretty horrible day, what I call mizzle, sort of rain and mist, and I need to use my wheelbarrow this morning, so I need to find a home for all this compost that I've made and more that I'm going to add. So I've brought one of the bins that I had down in the new compost area and put it on the patio here so that no weed grows into it, and I'm going to fill it up. I'll show you in a minute. But today's, well, an unusual day. Unfortunately, bird flu is here again, and we've been asked to keep all our fowl, chickens, ducks, hens, any birds inside. So I've got to progress with that plan I had to try and cover over the compost area to give them some more space. This could be failure by public viewing, but I'm going to give it a try and see if I can come up with something to give them more space. Right, let's get this into that bin. I'll show you it. So I think this was a wormery, a sort of homemade wormery at some time. It doesn't stand up very well, but it's okay against these Belfast sinks that I had. So I'm just going to put all my compost into here, and that will mean that it's, well, damp, kept moist during the winter months, and also close to the polytunnel, so that when I come to start to use it, I'm not going to have too far to move it. It won't look very pretty, and I do have to finish off this patio, so there is a risk that I'll move it at some point, but we'll see how we go. Right, I'll get this done. Thanks also to those of you that suggested that I do a few sort of sacrificial sowings into that compost just to see how things germinate and see whether there's much weed growth from the molehill that I added to the mix. That's a fantastic idea, and I'll put some in at some point and just see how it works. In the meantime, I will be making some more, as I say. Right, let's get these buckets where they should be. This really scrappy area is beginning to bother me now, so I need to get on with getting the compost done as soon as possible, but needs must. I need to do this solution for the chickens more urgently. So I'll try and get that done today, and we'll see how we go with finishing things off over in that area. And that will enable me to get on. Right, let's see what's going on over here. So this is a bit of a wild plan, and I'm thinking that I could get some rope around a couple of these more meaty branches and hang a ridgepole and then nets down to the side of the compost area. And in my loft, I've had this pole for, well, ever since we moved into the house. And it's been in the loft, and it's what, 1, 2, 3, about 4 meters long, and it will just about get across this area, I think. And I found this little bit of pipe which I might have to use just to get the full length. And then I've got to look in my net container and see whether I've got sufficient nets to drape down from it to the edges. I'm not going to be doing anything permanent. It's all going to be clips and things to hold things in place, because hopefully it won't be for long. And then of course I've got to find a way of getting the hens to the new space so that they can walk there during the day. So I've got this gate configuration which I think I can probably open so that the hens can come down here and then walk down there and get in to the area, and that is a convenient little hole for them. But of course, in the interest of keeping bird flu under control, I need to keep the wild birds away, so I've probably got to work out somehow of covering up their route at a high level. It all feels a bit, well, difficult, but I'm going to try, I think. And if I fail, well, I've given it my best shot. And I'm not going to show you this step by step. I think I'm going to put it on time lapse, and then you can watch me struggle quickly so that if it fails, it's not too boring. Well, that's pretty much made a net tent. And if any of you are worried about this netting, well, it's bird-proof netting, which I bought for all my beds, and it's had many years in use and never managed to trap a bird in any way. So I'm confident that it's not going to cause Mr. Robin or anybody else any harm. But we'll see how it goes. It's a bit Heath Robinson, but it's certainly not going to let anything in, and that's the main objective. And hopefully, if I can work out a way of getting a route from the coop to this area, then the chickens should have a lot more area to roam in during what is normally a prolonged period of captivity. So, fingers crossed, and notwithstanding bad weather, I'll have to keep an eye on it. Hopefully, we'll get there. Well, if you think of using these hooped nets for growing crops, don't. They're an absolute nightmare. The hoops get rusty, the nets get tangled. They're a nightmare to store. But I thought, just perhaps the hens would find their way into the coop from the compost area and back if I manage to do something around that corner. While they're in there, I popped a couple in there because they just got to get used to things. But they do seem to want to go all the way. And if I can get them just to get through there once or twice, I know that they'll do it on their own. That one wants to do a reverse. Come on. Look at that. Come on. Let's go. This is Orange. Called Orange because she's got an orange band. And now she's in Utopia. She probably want to get back out the main door, but we'll fix that as well. In the meantime, I think she's going to enjoy herself in here. So, I've got the route. I've got to just work a way of sealing them up at each end so that I can open the door and let them out each day. And they can come and go. They need to come and go because, of course, they want to get back to the coop to lay eggs. But I think this could well work. Good times. Well, it's official. This does not work and it is not practical. And sometimes on YouTube you watch allotment channels and you think, wow, it looks pretty well organized and everything seems to go right. I can tell you, it doesn't. This was an idea, but it isn't going to work. Not strong enough, not practical, wouldn't keep out the birds, I don't think. So I'm going to collapse all this connective work. The netted area is fine. And for now, we'll close up, keep the chickens in there. And maybe for a short period of time, we have to pick up the chickens and move them into the netted area for part of the day until we work out something that's a lot more practical. I don't want to cut this mesh, and getting out of it in any other way other than the door is really difficult. So I'm gonna, well, just move on and see if we can get cleaned up. We've got some bits done. Well, today's turned out to be sharing a failure. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you succeed and sometimes not so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and if you did, why not like and subscribe? And if you want my uploads at 8 PM on Wednesday and Sunday, then click on the bell. Sometimes.